You can see there's the query string here, and you can see the time is now 11:03, which is right now. It's not the time when the email was actually received. It was sent. It was 10:44.
Yeah.
So what
I think you can open in a new browser.
Oh yes, you can see. Yeah, you can see. We are no longer able to get this to get the first name and product interest because it's gone now. What context this person is viewing the email. And it can be send, preview, view as web page. Ooh, see? So what can we do to prevent creating 10 cases if you view something 10 times?
Subscriber, add and update the subscriber as well. And let me try to save. See, it's saved, right?
Yeah.
Now let me try to run this particular, start this particular trigger. See this? Yeah. I said you, right? Yeah. You are getting this validation error.
Can you try to do something in the email? So if you go back to your build, to your email,
right.
And
which I use for sending. VAWP guided send is the data extension name, right?
Yes.
This one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, first let's see what happens if I click on the VAWP. So everything's fine, right? This is the VAWP guided send. This is my first name, and this is the company name, right? Now, let me go to this data extension and let me delete this data extension, right? So I have deleted this data extension, right? Hello, Lucas. Excited to bring you into this conversation today. Today we'll be discussing more with VAWP, but before going to the VAWP, let's start with your introduction, okay? And you know how I take the conversation. That will be in my own style, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for inviting me, Shashi. Just a few words about myself. So I'm Lucas. Some of your viewers might have stumbled upon my name on Salesforce Stack Exchange or Trailblazer communities or any of the other places in the virtual world where we are eager to discuss mainly Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for now it's 10 years now, and always worked mainly with Marketing Cloud. I was so lucky to start my journey with a Salesforce partner, and from there I've spent more than 6 years working as an architect and a program architect at Salesforce. So it's been super interesting journey, and I've had the pleasure of working with some of our key clients across Europe. So it's been super fun and a huge learning experience. But last year, in May, I decided to try something else because I've been with Salesforce 6.5 years, so I wanted to try to be with a customer of Salesforce, and I was approached by Maersk, who's a leading global shipping company, who are one of the biggest Salesforce customers in Denmark, and they have obviously a multi-cloud environment where we are dealing with sales, service, and marketing. So it's been a really nice challenge to pick this up and help them become a leader in how a global logistics company can utilize Marketing Cloud to their advantage. Oh, nice. So this is where I am now, and I'm leading a team of skilled engineers and architects across UK and Bangalore. So I also had the pleasure of visiting them a couple of times, and I really enjoy working in this cross-cultural team.
Nice. I think I have seen you a lot in the Stack Exchange. When I started my initial journey, also I am also in Marketing Cloud for more than 9 years now. So I was not basically in the public domain. I didn't used to go into LinkedIn and do all those things I just started being active in LinkedIn and all those places. Just it's been 3-4 years, not before that. So a lot of people, used to ask me like, "Do you have a proper experience also?" That used to happen. But I used to go to Stack Exchange. We used to see your name, obviously. We used to see Adam Spring's name and Elliot, and you were there, one of them, in those Stack Exchange. Okay. One thing I noticed is you came to the Trailblazer community quite late, right?
Yes.
Why was
And
that?
and I don't know why. I think when I started on Stack Exchange, which was in early, I think either late 2016 or early 2017, it was really a fantastic place. We had Adam Spriggs, we had Gregory Gifford, also known as Gortonington. We had Elliot Harper, Susanna Jarczynska. All of the hotshots were there. We were super active. There was a large number of really good questions and challenging questions. So it kind of became, my go-to place. And I would almost say that when I woke up in the morning, the first thing I did was to open Stack Exchange to see if there were new marketing cloud questions that I could answer. I think being part of this type of communities for me is really important, because it gives me some challenges that I might not be seeing in my daily work. Being a manager as I am, it's not always easy to have a hands-on experience right now, at least not as much as when I'm an architect. So for me, it's important to keep myself up to date on all the new development, all the new different challenges that we have. But basically there was so much going on Salesforce Stack Exchange that that was enough for me. I didn't really need any additional community to keep me busy or to keep me challenged. But unfortunately, what I've seen and what's being shared by others on in especially marketing cloud community on Salesforce Stack Exchange is that there was a huge decline in the number of good questions or questions overall. I don't know if that applies to other clouds, if it's just a marketing cloud thing, but what I've seen is there is a really a challenge when it comes to having these questions published there. So when I saw that, I wasn't really challenged, because a lot of questions that were coming in were also quite poor quality. I really expect people to do some research before they ask, because I feel that we spend a lot of our own spare time engaging with the communities. So whenever people come in, I expect them to be prepared and not just say, I didn't bother Googling, I didn't bother trying, can you help me? But after the decline, I kind of decided to join the Trailblazer, the community groups, to see if I could get some more some more challenges there. And yes, there is definitely still something going on there. And I'm also active on How to SFMC Slack channels. So it is, I'm trying to be there where the good questions are. Whether there will be somewhere else in a year or two, I don't know. But for now, yes, the Trailblazer community is my main focus, and I've been so fortunate to be chosen as one of the forum ambassadors earlier this month. So I had some extra privileges there, and I also have access to Slack channels for other ambassadors, where we can communicate easier and faster in real time with Salesforce's own community managers. So that's really nice to have that recognition as well.
Yeah, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also, when I started, that time I was the best answer leaders, I was the rising star and everything, you know. But later on, I saw, you know, I also have similar, a different mindset. What you said, like what you have said, and what I still recall. Sorry, still recall Adam Spring. Yeah.
Yes.
And I totally agree with what Adam used to say. You know, when I brought him into a discussion, he was like, rather than giving them the answer, like uh, giving them like, say, copy this and this will work for you. Why don't you have a proper engagement way of helping the person to learn, right? So
Yep.
that's why what I did was, initially my blog, whatever blog I used to write, okay, it was basically based on those questions which the Trailblazer team used to ask, whatever questions the people are posting there. And if there's this repetitive, everyone is asking the same kind of question, I used to write a blog about
Yeah.
it. Okay. But what I've seen was most of them are non-technical guys. Okay. But my understanding was, maximums are technical guys. That was my initial understanding. And I used to say, like, okay, I assume they have the basic understanding of marketing cloud, right? And I used to just give a little higher up, things and explain them, and they didn't used to relate with me. Okay, there will be other guys who will give like step by step approach, saying that do 1, 2, 3, and you're done. And I didn't like that particular approach. That way, it's just like somebody copy pasting and not learning, right? So that's why I'm not that active nowadays in Trailblazer. Okay, and I'm not active in many other channels as well nowadays, as I used to be before, because I also had some health issues recently. Okay. Let's go back to but I wanted to basically say 2, 3 things about you also, because what I've noticed there. Okay, one was like there are a lot of very technical things that you explain in Stack Exchange. Okay, I have followed few things also while implementing. One was that substitution string for the automation, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was one of the very interesting thing. Okay, and what I see more very interesting thing, that we have posted was more with the demarc and demic things, and that's the particular area where I see very less people have the clear understanding, or very less people who have written about demarc and demic. Okay,
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah, and I think the deliverability is something that is quite. You don't think about deliverability before it goes wrong.
Yeah.
When you have deliverability issues, that's where you start becoming interested in deliverability. What I'm trying to do is raise the awareness. Even before you start implementing Marketing Cloud, you must be aware that before you can succeed, especially if you need to do IP warm-up and all that, you need to know the basics, because otherwise you will really, really regret it later.
Yeah. So those things I used to always collect, right, from whatever you have written. I used to basically, I am a person who basically goes very deep inside. I'm not like a surface layer kind of person who just go at the surface and leave it. I will go in, because I am from a .NET technology before joining Marketing Cloud. So overall experience of 15 years, right? 6, 7 years in .NET. So you come with that hard, coding mindset and how you do coding and all those things, right? And one thing, common, what I was saying, maybe you disagree or not. Okay, the common thing is, like, if you find somebody saying something wrong, you directly jump into that particular and say, like, no, this is not actually what the person is asking for, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're providing is not, it doesn't make any sense. One, right? The other thing is, if you see somebody just intensely or unintentionally posting something which you don't agree, then you basically, you start going to autocorrect them. And I saw your yesterday's post in LinkedIn as well. You're getting quite annoyed. Why is that?
Yeah, and I think actually what I haven't been, I don't know if it's just me that is becoming more sensitive, or whether people have a tendency to share more incorrect facts, because to be honest, if I look back 3 or 4 years, I don't think the issue was not that big. At least I didn't perceive it as being so big. Right now, what really, there are two things that annoy me. Let's start with the thing that annoys me the most. After we got generative AI, ChatGPT, and all the other platforms, I think it's very clear that there are some people, not everyone, of course, but there are some people who are notorious for, let's say, taking a question on, it could be a Trailblazer group, it could be anywhere else. I think it's specific on Trailblazer groups that we see this. Take the question, paste it into ChatGPT, and basically copy paste the answer directly into the Trailblazer group. And I have few issues with that. So first of all, you don't really put yourself into what is the problem about. Sometimes people ask about this, but what they really need is this. They just don't know. It's something that's called like an XY problem. It can be people asking, so how do I delete records from a data extension? What they really want to understand is, how do I overwrite the data extension? And it's about trying to read between the lines and use your own experience to understand, what do I think this person wants to achieve by asking this? ChatGPT will not really give you that that reflection. ChatGPT will only give you a direct answer to what you're specifically asking about. And if those questions are framed in a way so it kind of doesn't make sense from a Marketing Cloud point of view, what ChatGPT or generative AI in general, it will give you an answer that there's a good chance of it's being useless. Or if it's involving some third-party programming languages, like you need to use PHP in your cloud page. Listen, this is not possible. So this type of AI hallucinations, they are quite common. So that's my main thing, is people are not really adding value to the community by just pasting responses from generative AI. And it's really easy to spot, and especially easy to spot when the people who ask the original question actually ask follow-up questions, because then the person who posted it might not have a clue about what's being suggested. So they basically step out of the discussion. And the second thing was, people who actually have some good intentions. They share things they know, but unfortunately they have some gaps in their knowledge. So people can write a blog post or put a LinkedIn post which is 85-90% correct, but it also has some incorrect statements in it. And of course everyone should be able to share their knowledge, but my problem is, if you're new to Marketing Cloud, if you're new to Salesforce, if you see these things being shared, you have no ability to identify something that is incorrect. You will just assume that these people are right because they're posting this. So you would assume, well, if they are sharing this, they must know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, that's not always the case.
So 2 points, right? One is, let's say there are two people who both are using AI for using the blog post. And I know a definite reason why they are doing that. Okay. One is for the networking and followers. Okay. They want to build more followers with writing content day in, day out. Okay. The other one is basically learning based on that. So what happens is, somebody directly going to ChatGPT and writing, and they found it something good, right? And he posted that in the LinkedIn. Slowly and slowly, I have seen even the Trailblazer, I will not name her, but I have seen her. It was more with the ChatGPT answer everything every day. But I've seen her, having a good knowledge now, and she's doing it consistently. Okay, it is a consistent performance, I'll say, going to ChatGPT and slowly, because a lot of time, even you have said that this is not the question that had been posted. Okay, but I have seen her growth where she's learning.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
and I can also see, I think there are people are learning, and people are understanding that this is a journey for them.
Yeah.
But my concern is that if they they don't know what they don't know, so it's for me it's quite concerning that this is becoming like this is becoming like a reference for these people, right? And I know that another trailblazer, she's having and we're not mentioning names, but she has a blog on medium.com, and she is, all of her posts are clearly AI generated. And I really struggle to understand, what's the point? They're very high level, they're not really giving any value to the community, or very small value to the community. So I just think, of course, if you want to build a brand about your name, share something that is valuable, and rather share less, but share better quality. You don't have to write a blog post every second day. I'm writing a blog post maybe once every month or 2 months, because I also have a day job, right? But when I then share something, I really want that to be something where people say, oh, okay, I can really use this. I can, as you say, with DMARC and DKIM and deliverability advice, some other aspects that people can actually say, hey, this helped me resolve something.
Yeah, actually, that's the intention. But, those people who are posting it, or those AI guys, I'll say AI guys, who are posting it, they are basically new people, who are basically in this particular community, just very new, working very newly. Otherwise, you can see even whatever they are writing, they would, have certain things which will reflect their experience. So I will let it, from my side, it's like I also used to, initially what I used to do, I used to go and comment like, this is not right, this is wrong and all, okay? But later I saw that backfired. And after that backfiring thing, I left it, because, there'll be certain hand-holding that is happening, okay, with this guy, because they are new, they definitely approaches some people, okay? And they are basically, for certain motive or certain, I will not go there, but they have certain hand-holdings, okay? I know a person, okay, who is a very big fan of Matthews. He's a very, very big fan of Matthew, okay? And he doesn't like me. Why? Because in Trailblazer, instead of answering, I used to question that particular person. I said, what you're basically asking, okay? I'm not going to give you a ready-made answer, right? Have a conversation. Let's have, like, in the trade, have 20, 50 replies. I'm okay with that, okay? But there was one guy, he said, like, this guy doesn't answer. He keeps on asking the question, So those things happen, right? So nowadays I list bordered about, and the candid conversation that I used to do before also was to bring those old people, the veteran, I'll say, okay, like Greg, Adam, right? And so tell the people, like, see, these are the guys, you should follow them, okay, approach them and talk to them. That was my main intention, but that also had some certain follow-up with me, okay? Everybody has some objective which I didn't have. Now I'm learning. Now I'm learning. Okay. Okay. So let's today go to the real discussion of VAWP, right? So I think we have already taken 30 minutes in all this conversation. Now we'll go to because I think we should more discuss with this technicality of VAWP, right? And let's show it to the people, like what VAWP is and what are the considerations that you need to take care. So let's start that conversation now.
Yeah, sure. And what I really would like to do is to actually to tell this actually started the topic here was actually started by a discussion on LinkedIn that, you know, someone actually put out post, you know, I said, well, this is, you know, 80% correct, but there are, you know, I don't think I mentioned that this person was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said this is a really good post. There is, however, some extra things that you should be aware of when working with this viewer's webpage. And then you stepped in and we had a discussion which was very specific on some of these aspects. And I'm happy that you said, hey, listen, let's take this as a call, and let's take it as a candid conversation, because we will then reach out to more people, and we will be able to as you said, identify. So these are the persons you should follow, because there is so much being published out there every day. If you want to have some substantial knowledge, which comes from years of experience, here is Greg, Adam, Susanna, Mateusz, and everyone who you should follow, right?
Yeah.
But let's go into specifics. So, and I think we might want to, for all the viewers out there, we might want to put a link. If you want to listen about viewers' webpage, please skip the first 30 minutes.
Yeah. I'll mention that. I'll mention that.
Yeah, that's fine. So what is important to understand is, again, what is viewers' webpage? So let me start sharing my my screen here and show what we have here. So when you have an email in Content Builder, you have your AMP script here, and you can see there is this link. It's called view email URL, a personalization string, which in itself doesn't really do anything, but when you send an email, it turns into a link. So what I did to showcase what's going on here is the discussion we had was about, you know, how much does change after you have sent an email. How does viewers webpage work? I think many people who, you know, they take for granted that when someone will click this link, they will see exactly the same version of the email that was sent out. So when I receive an email with all the personalization, all the AMP script, like current system time, and, you know, all that, my first name, my product interest, it will be exactly the same when I click on viewers webpage. So what I did was I put up a few scenarios so I can show, you know, what were the pitfalls, which were what I was trying to educate about in our discussion. And I'm using some different methods to send this out. So, for example, 15 minutes ago, I used Automation Studio to run an activity, which is taking a data extension and using it as a journey entry audience, which basically just takes one email, sends it out based on viewers webpage journey data extension. So let's take this data extension first. It's very simple. It has subscriber key, my email address, first name, product interest, and a Boolean field here. So let's have a look at the email. So this is how it looks when I got it. So as you can see, we have the viewers webpage here. We have my first name and we have my product interest and the timestamp. Everything is fine. So let's see what happens if I click on the link here. You can see there's the query string here, and you can see the time is now 11:03, which is right now. It's not the time when the email was actually received. It was sent. It was 10:44. So what does it mean? It means that we have this current system time the function now is being run when I open the view's web page. Okay, so of course this is not critical, but it's just a simple example showing that you should not count on this being an exact copy of the HTML that you have received, because the M script here is being or the email is being generated when you click that link. It's generated again, and this is an example which just reads this information. So of course it's a bit more simple because it doesn't mess anything up. You can just see something else. So what we see here is, of course, that the time is changing, and what I can try to do is I can change my first name to Lukas and my product interest to cars, because as I said, the information that is being used in your web page is coming from that sendable data extension, and which means that my information here should change to Lukas and cars, and probably the timestamp will change again because it's now 11:05. Yes, the time has changed, but my first name and product interest has not changed. And why is that? Because Journey Builder sends and transactional sends, they don't have anything, or they are not relying on a data extension as per se. So when you have your journey data, which is coming from your entry data extension or from your payload, yes, you might have an entry data extension, which it says here, but the data which is in there is actually being cached, it's being held by Journey Builder. So I can even remove this record altogether, and I will still be able to view this data. There is no connection between this data extension and the actual content in the email. Only for that initial send. Yes.
Can we first go with like the guided send, like you have to send an email via an auto?
Yes.
Let's show that first.
Yeah.
Right?
So let me show you here. Yeah. So I have another one here, which is kind of a different email, because I want this to show multiple things. So what it does, first of all, it of course shows the time and everything, but it also will create a task in Sales Cloud. I'll get back to why this is important later. But otherwise, it has the same. It has first name, product interest, current local time. And let's see, we have our data extension, which we can see we have this viewer's web page sendable ID, sendable D, which has Brian and strawberries as well. Let's try to send the email to this one. So save and send. And let's take it here. So let me find my sendable data extension, which is this one, and just send it immediately. So yes, I agree, it can be sent. So what we should be seeing in a moment is the email here from Sandbox being received in my inbox. And as you can see, this is, I can also quickly click on tracking, and I should be seeing, this is actually, no, this is because it's suppressed, that's fine. But let me just see it again here. While we are waiting for the email to arrive, I can just say that this is where we will be able to actually see that there is actually a relationship between the data extension and the send. Here we have Sandbox email. So this was the old one, and here we can say, hello Brian, the time is now this and this. This is this is the time you're interested in strawberries. as you remember, when we updated the data extension for the other send, it didn't really for Journey Builder, it didn't really make any difference. So let me just do something here and update this to Lukas and cars. If we do it, and then we actually click on the link here for the viewer's web page, which is built the same way, we might see something else. And you can also see here that we have created a task. And this is the Salesforce ID of the task that's been created in Sales Cloud. And that might be for a specific reason, that we want to create a task. We want to, do a HTTP post. We want to update something in a data extension in our AMP script. So before we had an email which was only reading data. So like this, it only shows the system time. It only reads the attribute values from the send context, but it doesn't update anything. So it's, you can say it's kind of harmless.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at this version here. So if we click here, what you will see is, hello, Lukas, you're interested in cars. Oh my God. So you can see that if this data extension is changed, it will take the data not from the send itself, but from the data extension. And this is really important to keep in mind. Another thing, which I think is maybe even more scary if you don't know what you're working with, is if you look at the task ID here, it ends with SNA MAC. Here, it's different. Okay, what happened? We suddenly created two tasks. So you can see that since this is executed every time you do a viewer's web page, if you're not aware of this, you might see some data issues, because you create multiple records if you thought you are only creating one. So this is sorry
to interrupt you. So it means if I click on this link 10 times, right? It will create 10 tasks. That's correct.
Yes and no, because I obviously did some testing, and you can see here now we have this one is SNA MAC. Let's click again. Now it's different. So now we have 3 tasks. Let's try again. Oh, it is creating. I have seen some cases where you have caching, so you might not create tasks every time, but yes, it looks like it is actually executing the code without any delay. So even though you click on the same link once every 2 seconds, it will not say, hey, you just generated this email a second ago. We don't need to generate it again. We have a new version, but it will actually create another task. So right now we are flooding Sales Cloud with tasks that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
And we have the same, what we have here is the same, the same first name and interest as we had in the data extension. One last thing is if we clear these records, so let's just say you can clear records, but you can also overwrite a data extension. I think it's not unusual that you have like a master DE that you're sending to your full audience that's being refreshed once a day or once every hour. When it's overwritten, it means that every record will get like a new ID. Even though it's the same primary key. But what happens is if you lose that data extension, if you try to click on this again, it's still working, but it will fail at some point, because it expects to get information from this data extension.
Yeah, I think you can open in a new browser.
Oh yes, you can see. Yeah, you can see we are no longer able to get this to get the first name and product interest, because it's gone now. So if I had some AMP script that was dependent on this, so let's say I had an ID, I had a subscriber ID there that I needed to do some additional lookup in another data extension or anything, it will then fail. But because this logic is quite simple, it will just stop showing the fields here.
Yeah, so the lookup like subscriber key and then referencing another data extension, right?
Yes, exactly. So if I take a field, yeah, or if I take, let's say, if you go back to this one, if I have a product interest that says cars, and then we will look up another data extension and say, okay, show me what cars we have that we can show, it will fail because it will try to do a lookup with an empty value, which is of course never possible.
Actually,
so again, it's really important to keep this in mind. Yes.
Yeah. So if you go back to that VAWP, right? The VAWP actually has a query string, right? And that particular query string basically looks for the subscriber key, subscriber ID, job ID, and the batch ID. Likewise.
Yes. Right? Exactly. So this is exactly an ID that is a unique combination of this email being sent to this person in this send job. So if I do another send job to myself, of course, then I'll get a very different query string here.
Yeah. So just to summarize was this particular whatever discussed currently, right?
Yeah.
If you send it via journey or a TriggeredSend, right? Your VAWP is not getting affected, even if you delete or update or whatever you do with that sendable data extension.
Yes.
Right.
Because let me just show you here I set up some TriggeredSend. So I have a view as web page TriggeredSend. It's the old-fashioned TriggeredSend, not the new transactional send in Journey Builder. You can see here I added a data extension, which is called view as web page test. But it's not mandatory. I can easily create a view as web page test without a data extension, or just an email test without data extension. And you can see here, this is empty, which means that the payload that I want to send over here to this ID will be sent to Marketing Cloud. But you can then say, well, if it's not in a data extension, how can we use it to populate an email? Well, we can, because it's not something that is, it's not something that requires a data extension to be available to the email. And this is why changing this in a data extension doesn't have any impact, because data extension is optional. It can hold this data. It can hold this data in it, but it doesn't matter. Even if we have, and let me just find this again, the TriggeredSend without the data extension, with just the 3046, which is here. Yeah, let me just send it. Oh, and I just need to authorize, of course. No, it is already authorized. Perfect. So I should be seeing again an email in my inbox. See. But there is no data extension where I can change it. So this will, this will still work, and this will work fine. Even though data has changed. But again, as for every email, no matter how you send it, you need to be aware that it will update your, it will execute the code multiple times. So I think the question is, how can you avoid it? Can you avoid it? Right.
One thing. Sorry, I just because I have observed one thing. Okay. This year, interest and the name, right? When you already have this particular, can you go back to the email that how it was composed?
Yes.
Right. So here you have attribute value, and it is looking from the attribute value, right?
Yeah.
And when you basically try to create a TriggeredSend, okay, and when you validate, it throws you an error, right? It doesn't throw you an error if you don't use the.
No, you don't, because you can see here, if I go back to this without DE, let me just pause it here. So without DE, I can pause it. and I can, normally what I will do is I will publish changes, and if I try to start and restart, if there is an issue with my AMP script, it will fail to start. But it's successfully started. So again, the data extension is optional. You don't need to have a data extension with the exact same values as you have in your AMP script.
Yeah, maybe I was also trying this, right? And basically, initially, I always used to do TriggeredSend, okay, where this transitional sends were not there. And that's why I said, like, you don't require data extension, triggered data extension for TriggeredSend, right? But recently, when I tried this, and I was getting validation error. Okay, now I'm just trying to recollect if I had any other, AMP script functions that I've written, but I can show you why that. I don't see if I can try that. Okay, but I'll see if what happened was I had two similar to whatever email that you have built here. Similarly, I had a similar kind of a email. Okay, but I was getting a validation error when I was trying to start that particular TriggeredSend. And when I basically attached that particular data extension, that validation error was, removed, and I was able to publish it.
Yeah, so it's difficult to say, why did it go wrong there? But again, for me, it's important to say that, well, it's the main purpose here is to illustrate two things. One is to understand which email sends have a dependency on the data extension when you do views WebPage, because the data extension records need to be there before it can be shown properly. And also, if you update the data extension fields, then they will, of course, the updates will be reflected in the viewer's WebPage if this is a guided send.
Yeah.
What I think is, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go. No, first you complete, then I'll come.
Yeah. So I think what is important to understand, there is one word which everyone who's working with this should be aware of. It's called message context. So message context in SFMC is a personalization string, and we can see here it's about what context this person is viewing the email. And it can be send, preview, view as web page. Ooh, see? So what can we do to prevent creating 10 cases if you view something 10 times? Well, we can do a condition saying if message context, and I think usually we have and a good example here. See, Adam Spriggs is behind this page here. What we can do is if message context equals send, then we do the write. So the function where I have update single Salesforce or create Salesforce object for the task, if I wrap it in this if sentence, then we will only execute it once, because the message context send only occurs when the email is sent. It will never occur again. So if I then click on viewer's web page link, we are still executing all this AMP script, but because the message context is not sent, is VAWP, like you see here, this AMP script here will not be running. So remember, everyone seeing this, if you have some critical AMP script that is important only to run once for each email sent, remember to wrap it in this logic using message context personalization string.
Yeah. So basically what you're trying to say is like in the previous example where you are creating tasks every time you click on the view, right?
Yeah.
If you want to prevent that particular thing to happening, you can use this message context and use that particular function here to prevent that thing to occur, right?
Yes. So let me just show it quickly here. So what we have here is we have our content, and we have this message context equals send. So what I'll do is I'll replace this here, and I will actually also, just for fun, put it in here. So let's just try and sending it again.
Tell me why you're writing this in both. Okay. Oh, the ID. Okay, ID.
Yeah, well, this is
okay.
not mandatory, but
ID,
because what I can test here is, well, if ID is not empty, then we show this, but otherwise we can just, well, let's actually show that this is working.
Yeah.
So let's keep it like this, and if we go into our TriggeredSend, this one without the DE. Let me check. Yes, we are using this one. So let's just publish the changes for this. And I can quickly demonstrate that when we do something here where we are sending the email, you will see that when I receive the email in my inbox, there will be a task ID. But let's see what happens when I try to go in and just make sure this is the right ID. It's 4646. Yeah. Let's just try sending it. Okay, it's now sent. And let's go into our, see, I already got it here. See here, we have created a task. Let's click for the web version. We have no ID, so we've not created the task. See, and that's I think really important to keep in mind. Emails will always execute AMP script. Again, if you do viewers web page, emails that are sent as guided sends will be relying on the sendable data extension existing and have all the records there before they can show the the viewers web page properly. And you should always use message context if you have a requirement for only executing some AMP script only once when you're doing the email send.
Yeah, I think let me. It's very now we have just a few minutes left, but I wanted to show you something. Okay, I had also prepared this. I wanted to make it, but anyway, let's see whatever time I have. I'll try to show this. Okay, so I had created these 4 different emails, right? And first thing first was like, first let me show if the time is there. So you see, there are certain examples that I want to show. Okay, let me wait. So if if you try to do insert, insert D, see this. If you do the insert D, there when you're trying to do an insert, you also insert the VAWP. Okay, and if that particular configuration is not correct, that throws an error. If you do insert data, that will give you an exception. With insert D, it doesn't give you an exception. Okay. Anyway, let me show you quickly. I don't know. Do you have some time? Because
I still have some time. Yeah.
Okay. So so that will not jump from one place to another. Okay. So this is my TriggeredSend. Okay. And here I have already created TriggeredSend Data Extension as well. Right.
Yeah.
Now this data extension has the first name, okay, the data source name from where that particular reference has been taken, and you have the company name. I have 3 different personalization, right? So now let me go to the TriggeredSend. Let me create this TriggeredSend quickly, and let me give the same name. Okay, and so the TriggeredSend. Okay, I'll say like subscriber, add and update the subscriber as well. And let me try to save. See, it's saved, right?
Yeah.
Now let me try to run this particular, start this particular trigger. See this? I said you, right? You are getting this validation error.
Can you try to do something in the email? So if you go back to your build to your email, and instead of and edit it, so instead of just having the hello first name, you wrap both data source name. So everything that is use attribute value for this. So what happens is, in case that you have a data source or data extension which doesn't have that column, it will throw an error. But if you use attribute value and your data extension does not have this column, what will happen is it will just show a blank. No, it's a more robust way of referencing data into an email. So that's why theoretically, yes, you can use this personalization method, but if you want to make it more robust, it's always recommended to use attribute value around these. Yes.
Now let's go back to this, right? Now let me just edit this. Okay. This validation error goes only when you select the trigger data extension. Okay, that will be validated because it will, when I'm doing the personalization string, it looks for a data extension reference. Okay, so I selected a TriggeredSend data extension. I say save. Okay, now let me publish this or start this, right? You see this?
Now, but again, that's because you are using the direct reference of %% column name instead of attribute value, because you can see the way I do it. I didn't have any direct references of %% field name %% in my email. And this is why it worked, because it knew, okay, this will not error because it will just show an empty value if we don't have this data extension. But if you have that direct reference, it requires you to have that value in the data extension.
So in this particular scenario, you require a data extension, right? Now, let me take this. Anyway, I've created even this code, okay? But instead of this, I want to show you another one. Now, this is your guided send, right? Similar email, similar thing, everything is same. Okay. So here also, again, you have this company first name, data extension source, and so on and so forth, right? Let me go from the email studio so I can send an email. And it's the guided send. Okay. Send. It will happen quickly. I have only one data extension anyway. So guided send, I have one only record. Okay. Now let me send this. Right, the email is sent. So I used this particular guided send data extension for sending. Right. So this is my details for the send. Now let me refresh this. Let me see that email that come through. Say comes. Okay. What I want to show, let me do, so I'm not holding you for long. Okay. What I'm going to do after this is I'm going to directly delete this particular data extension. Okay. And still show you that the email is rendering properly even for the VAWP. right? So you see this email that it came here,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So this hello CC, and then this is particular Markle, and this is the data extension, right? Which I use for sending. VAWP guided send. This is the data extension name, right?
Yes.
This one. Okay.
Yep.
Now, first let's see what happens if I click on the VAWP. So everything's fine, right? This is the VAWP guided send. This is my first name, and this is the company name, right? Now, let me go to this data extension and let me delete this data extension, right? So I have deleted this data extension, right? Let's go and click on this. See this? This still renders, okay? It gives you an answer. It does not break your personalization or something. You know why? This is currently going to the recycling bin.
Yeah, because this, so all the data extensions that have underscore, yes, they are deleted. Yes.
Yeah. So since it is still in your data extension, still persists, right? That's why this particular everything will work. Okay. After I don't know how many days it's get deleted.
Yeah.
So even now for the guided send, this actually works.
Was not work. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
point.
didn't used to work before. Okay. Another thing I don't know where I can show you was which I see. I have tried a lot of things. Where is that? Let me see. I have deleted a lot of things. I tried troubleshooting and doing a lot of things. Okay. Let's show you this. Maybe this the one. This is like when you do the insert D, okay, in the VAWP.
Yeah.
What I did, let me go to the email. This was one, okay. I made it a little complex. So here, what I was doing was, if this is a VAWP, right? If you're clicking on the VAWP,
yeah. Yes.
Let me just open this in the visual code. So here, okay, if the message context is a VAWP, okay, what I was doing was I was logging this particular record into this particular data extension called VAWP logging, okay, and say that this particular person has opened this particular email via VAWP, okay,
yes,
giving you the data source name, subscriber key, email address, first name, and all these things. And if the person, if there's an else condition, if the person is just clicking on the email, okay, or opening an email, or this actually happens while sending an email itself. So this is basically logged, okay, when the email is sent, saying that this view source was basically email sent, okay. But instead of here, what I did was I did insert D here, and the difference here is I did the insert data here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's interesting because that indicates that the insert DE is normally what you will use if it's a cloud page, and insert data is normally what you will use if it's an email. So it's different context, which is interesting because both are in an email, right?
It's basically little different, right? Like insert D is in the context of sending an email, right? Insert data is more in the context of cloud pages and other.
Cloud page, yes, yeah, yes. Not, yeah, it's like sendable context versus non-sendable context.
Non-batch and non-batch and batch context, right? So when you do insert data, okay, this particular page basically breaks.
Yes, okay? Exactly. So you can't use the same. Yeah.
Okay, it will send an email. Nothing will happen wrong when you send an email. Okay, but if you simply click on the VAWP, that will particularly break that particular email, because insert data will give you a like this is a non-batch context. Okay, and this will throw an error. It will not render the email in the VAWP.
And it's interesting that Salesforce is not able to use one function, and just this function should just listen. Hey, is this one context or another? And
Yeah.
and put this information into the data extension in the right way, because
Yeah.
you are right. You will not think about doing this distinction, because that's also what I saw when I did similar testing last week. And then I decided to use the create Salesforce object, because that's one function that is functioning both, within an email and on the cloud page.
Yeah, and even if you do insert D, okay, in this VAWP, in this message context equals to VAWP, okay, it does not log the data. It does not disturb the viewing of the email, but it does not log. So this is quite interesting to see, right? Why it doesn't work. Okay.
Yes.
And quickly, this one, like when I create a AMP script, okay, and where I had like the company name and the first name, right? Here, whenever I go, I basically create an object of attribute, right? This is an attribute object that I create. And after creating that attribute, like the first name, okay, with the key value pair as name and value, and then I basically add it to the subscriber context. So I have a subscriber, create a subscriber, right? And I create this particular attribute for that particular subscriber. And then I send via the AMP script, okay? And this attribute is basically being stored here with the subscriber context, all those personalization string that we are using. So both the journey and basically the TriggeredSend, right, is basically, it has that TriggeredSend. Basically, the internal working of Journey Builder is also TriggeredSend, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same behind the scenes. It's similar sending engine.
Yeah. So okay. So I think this is extended to more 15 minutes. I will wrap this up. Anyway, we can have discussed more couple of hours. I could have solved even more things here.
Yeah.
Right. So just to summarize, okay. Just everything I'll to summarize is TriggeredSend and Journey Builder, right? For the VAWP, it doesn't break even if you delete or do whatever with the data. First point, right? Currently,
and actually and TriggeredSend and Journey Builder theoretically don't require a data extension as such, because as we saw, if you use the right AMP scripting techniques in your email, you can still publish and run a TriggeredSend definition without an underlying data extension.
Yeah. Okay. Now the second thing is, if you send it via guided send, right, or a user initiated send, right, then even if you currently at this current point where you have this data extension being deleted, okay, it basically stores into the recycling bin, right? That's why in that particular VAWP does not get affected. Just to make sure is you're not deleting the data, but you're deleting the data extension. The data is still there in the deleted data extension, right? The other point is, like, whenever you have that create functions, like create Salesforce object or insert or whatever, if you're not using the message context, you might be repeating the repeated task again and again when you click on the VAWP. Right? And the last thing we saw, I'll say there were more things to discuss, but the last thing was, like, at what point you need data extension and at what place you don't require a data extension when you're defining a trigger send, right? The key takeaway was that attribute value. If you use the attribute value function, then you don't require the data extension. Did I summarize it correctly? All the things that we discussed?
Yeah. So I think it's just to say it's not dangerous to use viewers web page, and generally speaking, I think most of the email clients are much better in rendering the emails than 5 or 10 years ago, where viewers web page was much used. So I would also just tell that viewers web page I see as something which today is not very needed.
Mm.
You know, because we have responsive email templates, we have much better email clients. Most people are opening, like you and I, we're using the web to open the emails because it's running in Gmail, it's running in Outlook, on in our browser. So I think if you are scared of using viewers web page, you can let it go, and I don't think it will impact that many people on your recipient list.
Yeah, it's from the user point of view, right? But when it
Yes.
comes to marketers, the VAWP plays a very vital role. You know, when basically they want to see like what email was sent to that particular user or the subscriber, right? They basically we store that VAWP URL, okay? And it even
The
generates
the good old trick, the HTTP GET, and then you store the VAWP URL in a data extension, so people can, and again, and this also is really important to say that if your marketeers click on that link, it will run it again, and they will have an access to preference center of that person that they can opt them out. So it's really important that these things are being used with caution, for sure.
Yeah,
you need to know what you're doing.
It's more with the tracking, or maybe like say why they actually store this particular information, okay, for the tracking purposes. If there is certain, you know, discrepancies, things like that, you know, where the subscriber, even it is more related, I think, with the financial sector or the banking sector. Okay.
Yes.
Where you have sent
from a compliance perspective.
Yeah. So if they say like, I received this email and this is what the email is, right? And you need to validate, right? But again, they are using the VAWP, and the VAWP, if you are sending with a guided send, right? Then obviously the same time context is not being rendered; it is rendering the real time context. So those people has to keep that in mind, right? Otherwise, even that will lead to conflict. I said, I know, see, I'm using a VAWP and this was sent, right? Then again, the marketers, and they will go into a lot of dispute if they don't understand the technicality, right?
Yep. Perfect. But again, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Shashi, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for giving us so many time. Like, I think expended more than 50 minutes, and it was very good talking with you. I think there will be another. I'll see. I'll again poke you in LinkedIn with something, and I'll again bring you into the conversation.
Yeah, and as you see, and I can almost also figure that I'm assuming you're not at Dreamforce right now.
No.
The same here. Maybe we can see each other in Dreamforce next year. Let's cross our fingers.
Sure, definitely.
Okay. Have a wonderful day, and looking forward to speaking to you again.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.